This time on Ask Rad Rat, we talk about which team had the most skaters of the year, and we also talk about Steve Berra's fake spots. Let's get started. Welcome back to Rad Rat Video, the channel where you can learn all about skateboarding every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We talk about trick histories, we learn tricks, we talk about skateboarding video games, all this kind of stuff. And this series is called Ask Rad Rat, where I answer your questions. Start thinking up some ones to send me when we're done here. Got two for you. The first one is from Caliente en las Calles, who asks, what board team has the most skaters of the year, past and present? So he's talking about what current team has the most skaters on their team who have won in the past. Which is kind of tough to look up. He suggests it's either Girl with Guy Mariano, who didn't win, I think you meant Mike Carroll, and Eric Costin, or Any Hero with Cardiel and Taylor. But I wanted to take a look at which team actually generated the most skaters of the year. So like when Tony Hawk won in 1990, he wasn't on Birdhouse yet, so that win would actually go to Powell Peralta. So which boards won the most? I think that'd be a little bit more interesting way to look at it. So most teams that won actually only won once, but there are a few that won 2 or 3 or maybe more times. First is Bob Burnquist in 97 and Tony Trujillo in 02, who both won for Any Hero. You have Toy Machine, who had 2 wins, Brian Anderson, Leo Romero. Danny Way and Grant Taylor won for Alien Workshop. Girl also had 2, Mike Carroll and Eric Costin, but Real actually had 3. They had Selma Naga, Ashad Ware, and Kyle Walker. But the winner is kind of a surprise. It was Geoff Rowley in 2000, Ardo Sari in 01, Mark Appleyard 03, David Gonzalez in 2012. That's Flip, which they were huge. They had all those really big videos back in the day, and you don't really hear about them that much anymore. But yeah, they were the winningest skate team in all history, which is kind of crazy. It was almost back to back to back. Yeah, 2000, 2001, 2003. They were so big back then. It's pretty crazy, but their team was definitely one of the best. So that's what I came up for that. If you have a different way to calculate the way you want to think about it, let me know about that below. The next question is from Mitch with 4 H's, who asks, do you have a thought with regards to fake spots, i.e. Steve Berra parts? So I've had a lot of comments and things about this before. I never really looked into it too much because I just thought of it as DIY. And I'll show you what he actually did in a second, but I think there's a real narrow line that you have to figure out. So look at people like Dale Song. He will stack up picnic tables and do stuff that's clearly made to be that way, and no one cares. You have other schoolyard parts from back in the day where they would move the benches around and construct a perfect line with just enough space between them and all that kind of thing. And no one really thinks that there's anything wrong with that. Some people might not prefer it, they would rather see a real spot or whatever, but I don't think anyone really questions how legitimate that is. But what if you took really smooth concrete and you printed a texture on it to make it look really, really rough? And then you had a ledge that was perfect skate park ledge, but you made it look really crusty and chunky and everything and made the trick seem like it would be harder than it really was. Well, that's way over the line, right? So where is that line? How do you decide what is legitimate and what's fake? What's DIY and what's fake? So let's look at the stuff that Steve Berra did, and we'll try to figure out where it falls on that line. So the first couple things are in his Skate More part. He does this trick on a constructed manual pad and also this plywood Euro gap up some stairs. Those are fine, obviously, that's just DIY, but it's not meant to deceive anybody. You don't think that that manual pad was really there. You know, it's obvious what it is, and you can accept it or not, but it is what it is. He also did these are in his minefield part, and these are his yellow flat bars. If you saw it once, you might think that they were actually there, but if you keep watching, you'll see the same exact rails at a different spot, and he brought those with him and he set them up and everything. To me, that's kind of on the line, because I don't know if it really matters if they were there or not. Like, I found this thing in the dumpster years ago, and I brought it to a different parking lot and skated it. Is that fake because I didn't find it there? I don't know. That one's kind of on the line. It's kind of tough to say. A lot of people had a huge problem with it, and I can get it. It's not native to the spot. It doesn't look like it blends in. It's kind of obvious that he put that there. So that one's a little bit on the line to me, but he's got a couple more things. The one that people have a real problem with are these ledges. They have this brick texture printed on them, but you can see the angle iron perfect skate park coping on it that makes it really easy to grind. So if you look at that, it blends in with the wall. It looks like it goes there, but it's actually like a skate park obstacle. And people have a big problem with that. Me, I don't know where I stand exactly, because if you think about shooting a skate video like a movie, right? You have to build the set, you got to do all that kind of stuff. Maybe it's got the brick texture so that it blends in and it's not distracting. But at the same time, if I see someone grinding on bricks, I would think that it's a lot harder. So at the same time, it's kind of a complicated thing. I think that one's a little bit too far, trying to fake a crusty brick ledge that's actually just skate park coping. But there's a couple more. Some people think that this loading dock is actually fake. You see him grinding on this extra step that goes to nothing. It says no deliveries on it, even though it's a loading dock, which is designed for deliveries. I don't know for sure if that was also fake, but it might have been. And that again is a little bit sketchy, but the one that's the worst, by most people's accounts anyway, is this Allstate sign. I don't know if anyone knows exactly where it came from, if he built a box and then just like cut out an Allstate logo and put it on there, or if he found an actual old sign and brought it around with him. I don't know exactly, but everyone agrees that it was also faked. If you watch my Jeremy Klein video right here, you see where he skated a bunch of these types of signs too, and he said that these signs are ungrindable the way that they are. They're too soft, you kind of sink into it and you go flying or whatever. So you have to modify and put coping on it or you won't be able to grind them. But if he had brought just a regular box and skated it, the tricks would be just as good. But trying to make it look like he was trespassing and he found the spot and the cops might be coming and he's got to hurry up and get this trick, that makes it a lot more gnarly than it really was just being a box that he put there, right? So I think that one's way over the line as well. But let's see what he has to say for himself. I found a couple of quotes from him, from people asking about it. So this first one is from Instagram. I don't know who he's replying to exactly, but he says, "Or maybe I had a totally reconstructed ankle, had 6 months to film for a part, and a single dad with a 9-year-old daughter, and I couldn't go to China and Barcelona and all your other spots you love to see in a million other videos, and did the best I could to make the deadline. Always two sides to a story, pal." And he also said something similar in another quote. He said, "Honestly, because at the time, my daughter was in school and I'm a single parent, and I had to pick her up and take her home and take care of her while I ran the barracks, and I didn't have time to drive in LA traffic 3 hours a day to go to spots to get kicked out of as a grown man, and I only had 6 months to film." But then he goes on to talk about how the tricks are still legitimate. They were still difficult tricks to do, and he did really do them. You know, you have to kind of put that in perspective. It's not like he took footage from the skate video games and put some filters on it and tried to make it look like it was real. He really did those tricks. It's just that the spots aren't actually what they look like. And that time thing really does make sense. If you look at the beginning of his Skate More part, you can see that he did legitimately just have reconstructive surgery. So trying to put together this part would have been really difficult. But I don't know, there's a really weird line there, because you think about those spots that he made, putting those ledges there, that might exist somewhere. There's probably a spot where there's a ledge and then a few stairs, you know, the same type of thing that he did. But is it worth it for you, for him to spend another month trying to find that spot and get out there and do a mission in the middle of the night where the security guards aren't there and all that kind of stuff to see the exact same tricks on a slightly different spot? I don't know. I kind of get where he's coming from, but he's got a little bit more to say too. Traffic and security guards and getting kicked out of spots, it's not fun at all. It's demoralizing in my opinion. So I wanted to make my life easier, and I also grew up in a time when skateboarding was really small, and all the pros and the companies and even the kids all really were supportive and just wanted to see you skate. So is the quality of the skating more important than the location of the skating? All that kind of stuff. I think to me it really depends on the intent. Personally, if I saw some skate plaza footage in a professional video part, I wouldn't care, because I want to see the trick. Seeing legitimate spots and seeing how you conquered this and how you were able to hit this line even though there was just a tiny bit of run in between, that kind of stuff is really cool, and you don't really get that at a skate park because it's designed perfectly for skateboarding. But the thing that I really care about is the skating. But for those parts, I do think he went a little bit over the top with the fake sign and the fake ledges and all that stuff. If it was obvious that they were fake, I think it would have been okay. But I want to hear your opinions on that below. Also, I have a link to my Instagram and my Twitter. Send me questions through there for future Ask Rad Rat videos. In the meantime, here are some more videos you can check out that I did recently. Do a lot more than just Ask Rad Rat. I have a lot of different skateboarding topics that you can check out. Tap my logo right here to subscribe so you can keep learning new things about skateboarding 3 times a week. Thank you for watching.